So it's really interesting navigating this before I get into the meat of what I'm going to talk about today. I can't even remember if I said on the first one whether I'm going to do this daily. However, that was the full process, and then yesterday should have been the second day, right? I got Suki in the background there, and I just wasn't in a position where I felt the calling to film. And you know what, that's okay. That's okay, because I'm still doing it. A vlog doesn't need to be every day. However, it needs to be regular in the sense of staying relevant with all of the shifts and the processing and the calibrations that happen in my life. And so I'm going to take off this added pressure that I gave to myself in doing a vlog daily, and I'm simply doing a vlog documenting the journey. And that could be every day, that could be every couple of days. It will definitely be once a week. I don't see it being any less than once a week. However, you know, that could shift. And I also have visions of having a team to support me with this. So where now it's simply me talking to the camera, and you've got me in my pool. You've got me in my pool while I'm doing my movement, which is great, which yeah, you'll likely get quite a lot of me in my pool, darling, while I'm moving my body and getting the healing rays from Brother Sun, because it's very, very important for us. Yeah, you've got me in here today, and I'm just going to talk as and when things come up. And today I'm going to talk more about my journey, so you can get to know my journey. You might as well get to know me at the start, and then and then we can go into whatever comes up. But it's also really interesting noticing the parts of me that have come up that are essentially trying to hold me back and keep me small, and or smaller than I can be. That's because I've definitely come a long way from where I started in 2017. So I've been noticing it, and you know, I could easily listen to it, but that's not going to do me good, that's not going to do you good, that's not going to do we good. The strongest, most powerful weapon that we all have is our voice, because this is how we share what we're learning and what we know and our experience and what we're going through to ultimately support our tribe in doing that. And the next, if not on the same level, is our energy. Suki, my baby. I have 5 animals. So a lot of what I share is to do with, and will be to do with, self-expression and energy and all of that good stuff. So let's get started on today. I'm going to talk about my journey, my story, so you have an understanding of where I came from. My hair's a little bit interesting today, but that's okay. We can just go with that. So I started my journey in 2017, and it's really interesting how it's all panned out for me, because I initially started for the money. At the time, I was working in corporate banking, I was studying to be an accountant, and I'd not long gotten out of an emotionally abusive and toxic relationship that, yeah, I mean, I got a lot out of it. We always get a lot out of these relationships when we choose to look at it in that sense. And it really opened my eyes to start to look at what it is that I wanted and didn't want from my relationships, and everything that I needed to do to shift that. Because yeah, we are the only common denominators in the experiences that we keep experiencing. So for us to shift that, we must shift ourselves in somewhat way. not to put blame on ourselves, but more so to take accountability for where we've been perpetuating it or holding ourselves back or whatever. So yeah, I not long gotten out of that relationship when I consciously started this journey. It was in the July 2017, so it'll be 9 years in literally about 2 weeks, which is crazy. Like a 9-year cycle's ended, which is interesting because numerology is every 9 years, and it's really interesting where I'm currently at. I'm in my personal year 4, so my personal year 4 would have been then, and yeah, very, very interesting. So anyway, that's when I started, and I was in a really shit space within myself and within my whole life, to be honest with you. I didn't realise how rock bottom I was, and I only started to realise when I started in this business within social media marketing, high ticket affiliate marketing, with now what I call the regenerative wealth path, which is housed within the wealth shift, the wealth frequency shift. Fucking hell, I can't speak properly. Can't even say the name of my platform properly. But I wanted to shift into wealth. So this has been my whole journey, is really coming to understand what the wealth frequency is. And yeah, I started solely for the money because I wanted the money to give me freedom. That's why I started. And then I started to learn about energy and the laws of the universe and wealth consciousness. The first 2 books that I read on my journey, they're housed within the information about the regenerative wealth path. So if you desire to read those books that completely changed my life, you're welcome. I give you access to the PDFs to just register. The link will be below. But yeah, I started to learn about energy, and subsequently through my journey, I quote unquote manifested freedom. Within a year, I manifested a shock redundancy. Not because I was just sitting there in my fucking woo-woo land, not doing anything. No, I was really doing the work. And this is a huge part, is really following our heart and our soul and doing the work and what we're called to do. And depending on where we're at in our journey is completely different, which is what I'm currently navigating right now in the position that I'm in. Life experience, also energetic frequency experience, the woman that I am today, because I'm completely different as to what I was then. Then I was very, very heavily led by my masculine and my wounded masculine at that. So it's been a really deep journey of initiations and recalibrating myself through these initiations, so I continue to raise my level of frequency, as well as different aspects of self-worth and standards. And yeah, it's been a very beautiful organic journey that's unfolded through my own life experience, and I'm really grateful for it because it's really enabled me to become the woman that I am today. But I share what I share with you, so you don't have to go through the hardships that I did. You can simply learn through my wisdom and my mistakes. So yeah, and where I started as well, at the time I didn't realise it. Like I said, I was at my rock bottom in all of the ways, and I was just focusing on the finances because that's typically how we're programmed. Status, success, money. That's why so many people burn themselves out or mess up their relationships, or don't take people seriously because of money. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about it. And yeah, through this journey, I realised that actually I was in my rock bottom in all of the ways when I first started, emotionally, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, and financially. I was at my rock bottom in all of the ways, not through fault of my own, simply because of the environment that I was born into. And I am a 5-1 reflector in the human design, which I recently found in quantum human design they call reflectors calibrators, which I much prefer. It's definitely more empowering. So for those of you who know human design, you'll understand where I'm coming from, but for those of you who don't, essentially I'm very energetically sensitive, and I amplify the energies that are around me. So for me especially, it's very important that I am in environments that are beneficial for me. And being born in London, growing up in London, with all of the ways that our society is programmed and conditioned, which is in our family, and of course we grow up with our family, and also with the fact that my power is in the amplification. You know, I'm around that, and I didn't even know I was a reflector until 2020. So it's been a really deep unraveling since then of really getting to understand myself through the reflection of unhealthy environments. Because when I noticed myself absorbing, amplifying, reflecting certain quote unquote negative situations, because we can focus on the negative, but they're great teachers as well, you know? It's like, what is this teaching me about myself? What is it that I want? What is it that I don't want, you know? So through these experiences, I've ultimately worked out who I am, what my standards are, all of that jazz. And growing up in a toxic culture, toxic environment really affected me. And yeah, by the time I'd started my journey, I'd already left my familial home, which I knew wasn't good for me. But at the time, I didn't realise how supported and guided and protected I was by the Most High, by my ancestors. I wasn't even connected to my spirituality then. But looking back, I'm like, wow, yeah, because this primed me, essentially. And I started learning, when I first started in 2017, I really dove into the personal development. And because I am a reflector, a deep wound for pretty much all of us is not feeling seen and heard and taken seriously. So once I started learning about the way that humans work, I wanted to really understand how I work first and foremost, so I could master myself. And then also how others work, so I can understand where they're coming from and come from a place of love and compassion. So yeah, I was doing this personal development work, energy work. I was working with the law of attraction, law of vibration, really cleaning up my energy. And yeah, within a year, I manifested, quote unquote, my freedom life. And I've been living in my freedom life since, because of this work. And it's been an absolutely phenomenal journey of, I call it your sacred spiral. So we go up, and we've all got our own lessons in life that we must rise above in this sacred spiral to create better. And that's essentially what I've been doing, is with everything that I've learned and integrated and embodied, applied, refined in my life, the better my life has continued to get because of the shift in frequency. It really all is in frequency. And as I'm going through this journey, it gets to about 2.5 years into my business journey, and the regenerative wealth path is based within the network marketing industry, right? So I joined a community, and I learned about this business model when I started, obviously, in the July 2017, and I saw the vision straight away. We partner with a company called Anagic, who create the best water technology in the world. So I'm very big about water. It's been absolutely life-changing for me, drinking this water in so many different ways, depending on what I've needed at the time, because this is what this water does, is it completely restructures our cellular makeup to suit what it is we needed at that time in our lives for the type of healing it is that we need, yeah? So when I first started, I was 3 dress sizes bigger. and I was depressed and I was anxious, and you know, there's many other pieces to the puzzle. However, starting to drink this water allowed me to clear my body, which was the first issue, was my body. I was unhealthy, I was overweight, I was eating shit. And then once I started to realize the importance of what we fuel ourselves with, and also learning that our gut is the second brain, so whatever goes through our gut affects the way that we think. And I've completely switched my water. That's 70% of the puzzle, right? And then of course I was doing my personal development and looking after myself and moving my body. So there's various different aspects with it, but it was surely a huge part of the puzzle for me. So yeah, I became obsessed with feeling better, because I was feeling better and creating better. So yeah, I went through that process, and like I said, within the year of freedom, I manifested a surprise redundancy. And then 2.5 years in, my brand was doing amazingly. And back then when I started, it was a completely different terrain and ball game, in the sense of we weren't taught personal branding, we weren't taught how to really move and be ourselves. We were just given copy and paste stuff, because I'm sure it was coming from a great place for them. They thought it would make it easy for us, but if you're not teaching people the fundamentals and the principles and also bringing them back to their own power and trust and voice and all of that, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to work. And I guess this was the first nudge for me to go my own way and do my own thing. But instead, when I zoomed out, because I like to zoom out and look at all perspectives and look at all variables as to why certain things won't work or haven't worked. And for me, everything was going great. I was already selling high ticket. To join that community, it was high ticket, like $500 and then $55 a month or something. So back in those days, it was and I would say, I mean, it's harder in different ways because the consciousness is different, but also there's a lot more noise these days. Really all depends how you approach it. But yeah, basically people were joining me on what I was about, but then once they joined the community, because they were listening to their intuition. I didn't listen to my intuition when I first started. I saw the vision of this business model and of Anagic. It's generational wealth building. We're stepping into our leadership. We're supporting others step into their leadership whilst coming back to true health and creating true freedom and sovereignty by being ourselves, by just simply sharing ourselves and our story and what we're learning. It made absolute complete sense to me. I've got 5 planets in Capricorn and 3 in Aquarius. It's just made sense. However, my intuition told me, no, don't go with him. Don't go with him. And then I later work out that he's not the leader for me in the sense of alignment. However, I learned a lot through the misalignment in the type of leader I desired to be. So was he the leader for me? Yeah, through that mirror that he showed me that I learned from. Yeah, we always choose everyone and everything for the reasons that we need to. So anyway, 2.5 years in, I was getting results, but I wasn't getting the results that I desired in my water business. And back then we led with the business, not the water, because people's consciousness were different. They didn't really care what they were putting in their bodies. And so I zoomed out and looked at everything. So my brand was great, my connections were great, my personal sales were great. And I realized that it was the community that I was a part of. It was the leadership that I was a part of. So 2.5 years in, September 2019, I'd been living in my freedom for over a year, and my money from the money that I had from the redundancy was running out. So I made the decision to shift communities to a community where everyone was thriving, not just the leaders, because it was like a conveyor belt in the old one. It was just the leaders that were thriving, not everyone else. So yeah, I decided to move and shift and join that new community in the September 2019. And then because of alignment and my frequency and my environment and everything I received an inheritance out of the blue, which enabled me to restart my business in one of the best ways. So this was second proof of the magic of our frequency and how the universe always provides when we are playing our part and when we are meeting the universe, which is what I've continuously chose to do. I've continuously checked in with myself and the guidance that has come up, even when I didn't consciously know what I was doing it anyway. So yeah, that was the end of 2019, and then I went traveling for a bit and I restarted my business in the March 2020. And yeah, within 2 months, I made my money back on my 5-figure investment. Within 6 months, I made more money than I ever did at the bank in a year, in just 6 months. My organization was thriving. Things were great. I was really in my leadership. I was having a great time. And this is when my spiritual awakenings really started, in the 2020. Now, bear in mind, the rest of the world are in with everything that was going on in the world back then. And I'm in Bali. I left for Bali in the March, St. Patrick's Day in March 2020. So I was in Bali and I was going through my spiritual awakenings, and and bear in mind, I've already started going deep into this work, into really understanding self, shadow work. My shadow work really deeply started in the August, and really coming to understand that life is just a mirror. And I became really, again, obsessed with this, because I'm the clearest mirror. And for me to be the clearest mirror, and for me to live the best life for myself, and to be at my most powerful and potent, I need to fucking clean myself up, right? Because if I've got toxicity all around me, there's something within me that's allowing it, perpetuating it. I'm the socket to that plug of negativity, right? So yeah, since 2020, I've been on this really deep journey of really cleaning myself up and anchoring into my power. And that's included various different mirrors within my leadership, and within my old community, within my physical community, within sisterhood, within intimate relation, within family. There's been a lot, and it's been a really sustainable, organic journey for me, in the sense of I've not pushed, I've just allowed life to come to me and learn from life, because this is the way where we really get to enjoy ourselves. This perpetual cycle of healing is so damaging. It's the way that I look at it is we just focus on our continual evolution and ascension whilst enjoying our lives. And through the midst of this, the healing happens because the awareness comes through our reflection and through the clarity that comes when we choose to refine ourselves to make our life better in whatever way, whether that be within or without, right? So yeah, I've been on this really deep journey, and I'm yet to go back to visit my family in the UK. However, they did come in 2024, the masculine side of the family, which were are a part of one of my biggest woundings, and I did really well, and I'm so grateful for how far I've come in that sense spiritually, and the fact that they came to visit as well in a land where I feel comfortable in. And it's been very interesting looking back, because it's not like I've not wanted to go back to the UK to see my family. However, my focus and intention has been put towards building really beautiful deep roots here, because this is home for me, and I have 5 animals and all of that jazz. So I've been really focused on that, and really focused on becoming the best version of myself, so I can be the best version of myself when I do go back to my family, right? And in the midst of all of this, I've navigated a lot to do with my own self-worth, my own standards, my leadership, my coaching. Communication has come in with that. Where I leak my energy has come into this, and all of these different realizations that have come through this journey of becoming my best self. And the last time, so my organization has broke down twice. The first time it broke down in a very toxic way, and it was linked, this is when I started to set my boundaries, and because I've come from people pleasing and over giving, and yeah, it got to a point where I had to start setting my boundaries around people that would just take, and they weren't actually doing anything to shift and grow their business in the way that I'm advising, I'm encouraging, right? And then there was a lot of a lot of gossip, a lot of it was a process that really tested my or really supported my healing when it came to my sister wound, the sister wound that I carried, and the witch wound. And yeah, it was a lot. It was really heartbreaking, to be honest with you. And then that kind of broke down, dissolved, and then I started to rebuild again. And through this second stage of rebuilding, I was having a great time. The ladies that I was working with, absolutely amazing. I mean, all of the people that I've worked with are absolutely amazing, and they have so much in them. And this is the beauty of being a reflector, is I really can see the power and the potential in everyone. And this is why I am so giving, because I know that you can do it. I trust that you can do it, but not everyone will actually do that, right? And especially being a 5-1 reflector with the gate of friction, I'm a walking, talking activator for people who are ready and willing to look at the mirror that I hold up to them and to notice what activates within them, so they do the work to harmonize whatever's disharmonizing within their field, right? So these first people that I worked with, there was a lot of them that weren't ready for that work, and that's okay. And I needed that to be able to strengthen myself. And then the second time they were, however, they weren't showing up for their businesses in the ways that were required to create substantial income, right? And so this was still for me at the time where I was again overgiving. So I was giving all of my life's work away to them for free, because in my eyes, if that was me and I was given all of that for free, I would have run with it, because I remember where I started. I started in a really shitty space. Like I said, 32 grand's worth of debt, living paycheck to paycheck. It wasn't a great time. And they didn't, and I ended up making the decision to put a subscription on my life's work, and then ultimately they dissolved out of my field in a much better way than was before. However, it was again heartbreaking for me, because I'd put so much support and guidance into them, and I showed up for them so much that it took the energy away from me showing up for myself. And that was all my choice and everything that I needed to learn. However, the disillusion of that, if that's the right word, again, it broke my heart, and I was still showing up online. This happened around about November 2024. I was still showing up online and doing the thing. However, I went deeper into my cave, and I was already pretty much in my cave anyway. Well, for the first 3 years of me being in Bali, I was in my cave, doing all of the sacred solitude healing work, should we say, in the deconditioning and reconditioning of myself, with various different toxic and unhealthy ways of being and doing that I'd brought with me from London. And then when I started to get out into the community in the June 2023, I started to come out of my cave, but I was working on, okay, well, how am I consciously with people? Who do I want to be around, and all of that? And yeah, it's interesting because once I started to get out into my physical community more here in Bali, after 3 years of not really having one, I started to get out, and then my online community dissolved. So it was the end of 2023, start of 2024. That's when I was ostracized from my old community. So I shared an income win, and it's against policy for us. And I just had in my mind, everyone else is doing it, fuck it, I'll do it. And the leader then was like, no, we don't do that. So he just kicked me out of the community and didn't tell me. And all right, okay, I didn't really like the way that he went about that, but it was my fuck you. And ultimately I needed that to be able to land into my own style and way of leadership as well. So I was ostracized from that community. And then by the November, that's when my organization dissolved. So not working with organization, not working with community anymore. And yeah, I didn't even realize it, but I was so fucking heartbroken. And throughout that time as well, I was navigating a covertly narcissistic relationship, which was really interesting because coming out of it and seeing it anyway, because like I said, I come from emotional and narcissistic abuse. And that's actually what sent me deep into my shadow work at the end of 2020, was an experience that I had with very toxic narcissists that sucked the life out of me, that I allowed my energy to leak to. So through 2024 to now, from the end of 2024 to now, I haven't been working with anyone directly. And it was up until around that time that my business was carrying me. And that's the beauty of high ticket, and what I love so much is you get to a point, you make a sale, you're making like £1,500 all the way up to like in £7,000, depending on the package that our clients buy. So yeah, it was carrying me. And then I stopped working with my organization, yet I was still showing up. But nothing was coming because of the misalignment in my own frequency, because of the heartbreak that I'd experienced and the betrayal that I'd experienced, and the dynamics in the relationships that I chose and what I was experiencing from those. It allowed me, I allowed the internalization and absorption of certain different things that essentially caused my self-worth to lower. And yeah, I wasn't connected to my power, and I didn't feel worthy, I didn't feel deserving, I didn't feel good enough. And this was all very unconscious. However, the last 2 years and everything that I've been through, the catalysts that have brought me to this place are reflections within sisterhood, reflections within intimate relation, reflections of life, right? And it's brought me to this point where in February, I was really, really pushed to my edge financially. Was it February? Yeah, it started in February. But before then, what was funding me? Because it wasn't my business. I wasn't working with people in my business. Well, out of the blue, bank finance opened up for me. Again, the universe always provides. And I did not expect it to open at all, because I still hadn't paid off my 32 grand's debt from before. However, because it had been 7 years, my credit history reset. So I still had the debt, but I could get more debt. So I saw an advert on my banking. Oh, you want to get a credit card? So I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll try it. And I got accepted. So I was like, oh wow, okay, well if I'm getting accepted for this, I'm going to try for another one. So I ended up getting 3 credit cards, and then maybe about a month later, I got a loan. I decided to fund my mission and my vision because of how much I first and foremost believe in this global movement. and how much I believe in myself for making it happen. I've already made it happen before. I can make it happen again. I'm just in a different timeline. I'm in a different frequency, that's all. And I had to go through everything that I went through to ultimately build everything that I had, because before I got ostracized from my old community, I was leaning in on all of the training that they'd built. However, they do it completely different to me. The way that I teach and the way that I lead, it's not surface, shallow, build a business online, create freedom, all of that stuff. And you know, it works for some people. However, that's not the field that I'm playing in. I'm playing in a field of global world change, in the sense of from the inside out. I've risen up from trauma and toxicity and created such a wonderful life from the inside out with my frequency. That's it. I've been funded in ways that I could never have consciously comprehended, because I shifted my frequency, and because I stayed true to the mission and the vision, and I cleaned myself up and I kept moving forward towards what it is that I came here to build. So the universe has always provided, always. And what I've been moving through since 2025, and especially since February this year, is letting go of a lot of shame around the money journey that I've moved through, because there's really deep ancestral and familial ties and societal ties to money, in my experience. So I've really had to work through letting go of that, and there's been a culmination of stuff that's happened recently with my family that have brought certain things up that are to do with money, but then it's not to do with money either. So it's been really interesting for me to navigate and again reclaim my power and the trust within myself through various projections and toxicity and that I've received. So in February this year, I was really pushed to the edge in the sense of not having the money to pay my rent or extend my visa. So it got to a point where, babes, you've got to talk about this. You really got to talk about where you're at, because, you know, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with being where you're at. Your journey is your journey, and this is where the magic is, right? So since I started sharing that, so much magic has happened in my life with all of the support that has come, but most importantly, with all of the clarity that's been created as I have let go of shame and been honest with where I'm at and let go of control of how it's supposed to happen, as well as let go of the fear of whatever, right? Because that's what really holds us back and holds us down and keeps us small, is holding on to shame around our journey when it just is what it is, right? There's no shame in it, and there's no shame in asking for help either. So letting go of that, but also letting go of the fear, letting go of control, and also being open and honest with where I'm at and where I've been, it's created really beautiful encounters, as well as really dark and sludgy reflections that have ultimately created more clarity as to what I stand for, what I don't stand for, why I'm here and why I'm doing this. And yeah, I'm in this really beautiful stage right now in my business where all of the foundations are there. I've built all of the training and the ecosystem for my tribe to thrive in the way that this business model enables us to thrive, when we come together and when we work together and when we support each other and when we lift each other. Most importantly, this business model and this movement of true health, true freedom and sovereignty with the simple switch of water really allows us to fund our life and our vision and our mission and our passion and our purpose in a way that's so impactful, in a way that's so fulfilling, because we're simply switching our water and we're sharing what's available with our tribe through them switching their water and ultimately jumping into the free referral program that comes with switching our water. And we all know that water is a huge component to our health. It's 70% to our health. So it just makes sense. And then when we have a way that we can easily fit it into our life, whether we have a job or a business or whether we don't, whatever. Anyone who drinks water can merge this into their life. It's simply a case of, okay, well, what part of this is what you connect to? Do you connect to the water, to the health, to the freedom, to the community, to the journey that you'll go on with me, which is self-love and self-empowerment and essentially becoming our highest, most best version of ourselves in all of the ways. I rose up out of toxicity and trauma and control and manipulation and abuse and oppression and extraction to show you that that's not a life that we have to live if we don't want to. If we don't want to live that life, we can shift that life. And my whole journey has been a complete reflection and a complete proof and a complete example of what I'm saying. And it's all through frequency. Again, which is interesting because I chose to start my journey for the money. And I've been living in my own version of heaven on earth, which is what I call my wealth frequency life, since 2020, without the price tag that I thought I needed from my business and without even having any income from my business for the last 2 years. Well, now I have, because I've started to show up in the way that I'm supposed to. So I made a sale last month, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you. And even that in itself, that was great signs, the synchronicities and the messages behind that in respects to how the person links to my life in some way with his name and heritage. And yeah, it's very interesting how that worked out. So that's where I'm at. And I joined, and it's interesting because I joined in community and I went straight into leadership in that sense, and I didn't really move through these spheres of being seen and all of that. So I just went straight into it. And what I've been pushed towards essentially by the universe is do your own fucking thing. Because I was too, and I knew this like from the start when I first moved to the second online community, I had this nudge of do it yourself. But because of my egoic fears of no one cares what you have to say, no one listens to you, no one takes you seriously, I leaned into the cushion of community, of something that was already established, right? And now with where I'm at, it's interesting because now I'm establishing something. This is a movement, a global movement that I'm leading that is impacting millions, whether that be directly through myself or through the people that I support. It is impacting millions, and we are changing the world in our own unique way through the simple switch of water and teaching our tribe absolutely everything that we've learned. And I'm starting with just me right now. With just me leading the way, and I'm calling other leaders forth to come and join me. You don't have to be any different to what you are. What you're strong at, I'm weak at, and what I'm strong at, you're weak at, most likely. But there's going to be a few puzzle pieces, and this is why it's really important that we come together in unity as community to support one another, in collaboration, in co-creation. There's no competition. There's no competition. There's plenty of people in this world that we can support, plenty. And for us to really thrive within this business, we're creating lifelong relationships with people that we're supporting rise. They're supporting us rise, we're supporting them rise. And really and truly, we only need 12 strong leaders to work with. That's it, 12 strong leaders. And we're doing it. So we get 12 strong leaders. We support our tribe get 12 strong leaders. They support their tribe get 12 strong leaders. And you think about all of these people stepping into leadership for themselves, self-leadership, and then supporting their tribe. Think about how much better this world will become through this ripple effect. The ripple turns into a wave, turns into a tsunami. Just think about the shifts that can happen when we choose to step into self-leadership, find our voice, find our power, anchor into that, then support our tribe do the same by simply switching their water. And then when they start drinking this water, whoa, the journey that they go on. And I'm gonna go into that in another video. The journey we go on when we drink this water long term. Oh, it's so phenomenal. It's so phenomenal. So yeah, this is where I'm at now. My whole life is proof of theory, if you want to call it theory. It's proof of share. Our life is created from the inside out through shifting our frequency, taking ownership, full accountability, responsibility over and over again. And this business model fucking works. I've been watching it for the last 9 years now. I've been a living example of it for 4 years of those 9 years. I just took a, shall we say, a sabbatical that was kind of chosen but kind of forced by the universe, because I needed to refine myself to become the woman that I am today, to be able to effectively lead this movement from heart and from integrity. Because through my journey, I have experienced many leaders that are not coming from their heart and that are not moving with full integrity. And this is not how I choose to lead the movement that I'm leading. And I needed to go through a lot to really come to that, because I came from a society that was sick and unhealthy and toxic and coming from trauma. So I had to shed all of that to not only be able to lead in the way that I do, but to be able to call out and hold space lovingly for people that are going through this process as well, because it's a process. So yes, it's a process. And like I said, I'm going through this. So yeah, that's what I'm currently working through. I'm going through this fear of being seen, because the last time I was really in my power and sharing all of this stuff, it wasn't good. However, that's not my story now. That was then. That it had to happen then. Now is a completely different story. I'm calling in a completely different frequency of person, right? So yeah, I'm really excited for this journey. I'm really excited to meet my next wave of leaders. And I'm at a point where embodiment is very, very, very important for me. So there's different choices that I've made available for people who are joining me on the movement as to the support that they get from me, whether or not they want to have an elongated initiatory mentorship when they start, or whether they just want to come here and immerse in the life that they're moving towards to launch their business. So if my tribe come here, it will be anywhere between 2 weeks to 4 weeks, and that's going to be a really beautiful celebratory experience to launch your business and build your business with me and with my energetic as well as energetic guidance and presence that comes with it. Or an elongated period of initiatory mentorship. Whenever you choose to start your business with me, you do get initiatory mentorship. However, as I'm now restarting and rebuilding, where we're going to have it elongated for a little while until the capacity fills out. So that's anywhere between two to 3 months for that. So yeah, it's my journey so far. Have I missed anything out? No. That's it. We're at 50 minutes. I said on the last one that I didn't want to go over 30 minutes, but hey, this is where we're at. This is my story. This is what I've gone through. This is also where I'm going as well, which is really exciting. Yeah, and I'm excited to go there with you, and I'm excited for you to be here and to join me. And if you do have any questions, reach out to me. You can message me directly on my socials or pop a comment. Let me know what came up for you. Yeah, I love you. Have a beautiful day. Mwah.